All right, man. I'm not going nowhere. I am Cowboy centric today. So if you came for some of my baseball talks or my basketball talks or my hockey talks or my Bill Belichick talks, if you came for any of that, 104 not your episode. It ain't. Today is going to be all about the Cowboys and most importantly, the big news. Jerry and Steven and the folks in the front office, they finally, and to me, it's been a while. I know that you traded for Stephon Gilmore. I don't think he was that impactful as this trade is. I think the last time you had a trade that was as impactful of a player and could bring your team up as much from a player's point of view was another wide receiver. It was Amari Cooper. It's when, for whatever odd reason, the Cowboys thought to themselves, hey, wide receiver by committee's the way to go. And they got into the season and realized, this ain't it. This ain't it. Allen Hurns and company, this ain't it. Jerry got on the horn, called up the Raiders. In comes Amari Cooper. And things changed. And the Cowboys on yesterday made a trade for, what word do I want to use? Very talented, maybe sometimes misunderstood wide receiver from the Pittsburgh Steelers, George Pickens. The Cowboys gave a third and a fifth up to bring George in. I think they got a sixth back, a pick swap or whatever it was. But the third pick is the main pick that we're looking at right here. And I know that I talked about the potential of getting Pickens here a couple of weeks ago and kind of was on the fence about it. I like it. I like it. I know that George Pickens is an extremely talented player. And I'll get into it. I'll break his profile down. I'll break the pros and cons of George Pickett's game. But my first initial thoughts were, I like it. I thought the Cowboys took a swing on a guy they may have liked who still had more in the tank. You know, you bring in a guy like, give up a fourth for Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo did nothing in this league. He's done nothing in this league. It's all potential. It's all hype. There is proven statistical, visual, productive evidence that George Pickens is like that. This isn't we're going off traits that we like. This isn't that we are, he may fit our system or someone told us or, back in 2007, this guy was a guy that we appreciated and liked coming out of whatever university, but things didn't progress when we can able to get that player. There is current information about George Pickens' game that gives you a very clear picture of how talented he is. He's 24 years old. And what's very, very interesting? 24 years old. He's saying he's not looking for a new deal, but I find that very, very hard to believe. You don't play for free. You don't play for the love of the game. You play to get paid. That is the ultimate. Let somebody check don't show up on Tuesday. See if they got love for the game. Let any NFL player check not show up on a direct deposit and there's not a real life resolution to what's happening with their money and see how much they want to play for the love of the game. So George may say that he's not looking to get paid right now, but bet your bottom dollar. And his agent is David Malugetta. Funny, because that's the same agent that Derry said he didn't know about a couple of weeks ago when it was asked about the Micah Parsons contracts and how is that progressing. Well, David Malugetta, who I think is probably the best agent in the league right now, also represents George Pickens. But my first thought was, I like it. And of course, you start mulling over it a little bit more. You sleep on it. You kind of go through the day. You let your ideas kind of marinate in your head and play through your head, and you play out these situations and scenarios. And yes, does George Pickens come with some baggage? Sure. He's a wide receiver, right? Receivers, we always have a little bit of baggage. I know that there's been this narrative of bad guy. As far as I know, there are two different types of bad guys. You have your person who consistently runs afoul to the judicial system, whether that be drugs and alcohol, whether that be some sort of assault type, whether that be some sort of domestic situation. There's a bad guy who runs afoul to the law. And then you have some guys who, are extremely talented, and they have a little bit of trouble showing up on time. They're not going to be your bright and shining star pupils. They're not going to sit in the front of the room. They're not going to have, a notebook full of notes. They're not going to have that, right? They may show up to the plane late, the bus. Hotel curfew is 11. They may take the fine, come through at 11:30, 12:30. But they get on the field and they ball. And that is more often than not. You see an extremely talented player in the National Football League. 8 times out of 10, he's coming with some sort of baggage. And teams acquiesce to it. They sometimes turn a blind eye to it. All for the love of, how can I get the best player on the field? See, there's very few coaches who hold and maintain the level of standard you want them to, the military type, Tom Coughlin and Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick in his prime. I don't know what he is right now, but that's another conversation for another day. Meeting starts at 7:30. If you get there at 7:30, you're late. Some coaches they try to just say, hey, you know what? If 5 minutes is 5 minutes. You'll hear Bill Belichick tell a story. Bill Parcells tell a story about when Bill Belichick was a young linebackers coach and defensive coordinator. He was coaching LT, and Bill Belichick comes to Bill Parcells, and he's like just frustrated. He's like, man, what do I have to do to get LT on time? LT's always showing up to the meeting late, always showing up late, man. I'm trying to run these meetings, and he's always showing up late. And Bill Parcells looks at Bill Belichick and he says, well, start the meeting when he gets there. Now, you have to be the greatest linebacker to ever play the game of football to have that level of privilege. Jimmy Johnson once said a long time ago, he said, everyone gets treated fairly, but not everyone gets treated the same, right? They had a rule during the Super Bowl about curfew. And I think it was Eric Williams, who was the starting lineman, went missing during the Super Bowl and missed curfew. And everybody, they're in a meeting and everybody's looking around and they don't see Eric. And everybody knows that if you miss this meeting and this time, this curfew, is that you won't play in the game. You'll be benched. Well, Jimmy said, we'll bench him next year. We ain't benching him in the Super Bowl, I'll tell you that much. So everybody gets treated fairly, but everyone gets treated the same. Now, that all depends upon your talent level. I've been around some players in a lot of different stops in Dallas and Cincinnati, where the best players get shown preferential treatment. But you damn sure better ball. So I hear these things about George Pickens. And so, yes, you have to talk about him. You have to consider him because that's a part of who he is. That's a part of his story. That's a part of the makeup of George Pickens. While you get all the highlight plays and this ability to the high wire catches and I'm always open, you do get some of the other stuff. But initially I thought, man, way to go, Cowboys. Way to go. Way to go. It was finally a move that was made that just wasn't an added body, but elevated your team to a level of a notch. You went from being not so competitive to, hold on now, this changes things. This changes things. I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Nate Newton, who was talking to Michael Irvin, and he said that when you're drafting somebody, draft somebody that gives you hope. You don't want to look at a guy and they think you just here, but you don't give me hope. I think this is a move that gives fans hope that George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott can come together and do something special. The talent is there. No doubt in my mind. No doubt about it. No doubt in my mind. The talent of George Pickens is there. But I would be remiss if I didn't look at this total picture. I can look at it one side and it's like, oh, he's here telling us, let's ball. But something happened. Something happened in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin has been known to be at least the crazy wide receiver whisperer. I mean, he's had them. Juju was a mess, and Deontay Johnson, and of course, Antonio Brown, George Pickens. I mean, there's Mike Wallace. I mean, he's dealt with some. Was he the coach of Plaxico Burrs? Oh, no. I think it was still Bill Cowher. But Mike T he's been the crazy wide receiver whisperer. Now I don't know what happened, but something had to happen. You don't get rid of a talented kid, and George Pickens is extremely talented. For example, since 2023, with a minimum of 120 receptions, George Pickens has a 16.7 average per catch. That is huge. You don't trade a guy if there's nothing under the rug. Not that talented, not in his prime. 24 years old. There's something there. And the going price for an aerial attack in the National Football League, you need 2 pass catchers. And you just traded for DK Metcalf, and now you have DK Metcalf on one side, and you would have had George Pickens on the other side. 2 6'3" receivers who can run, jump, catch, be a beast with the ball in their hands. What went wrong? And we don't know. No one has given anyone a definitive answer. And George Pickens had a press conference today, and I'll just read you some quotes from some people that were there. I'll use. Let me shout my boy out. I'll use my boy Joy Hoyt from DLLS. You can catch me over there too. We're at DLLS. You catch me on Unfiltered with Jesse Holley. That's where you need to catch me at for sure. But George Pickens, of course, everyone's asking him about. Joe Hoyt asked George Pickens, he says, asked about his time in Pittsburgh, about the split and the need to grow up, as Mike Tomlin once said. Pickens elected to focus on his present in Dallas instead. George Pickens said, and I quote, "I'm where my feet are." Another quote that Joe wrote about, he said that George Pickens says, "I can't really change anyone's opinions. I can just continue to grow. I feel like everyone in the world has to grow. You get older and older and you grow. I just want to build a willing culture, which they already have at the Cowboys. I'm just glad to be joining." So clearly George Pickens knows and understands and hears the narrative about who he is and what he is. Shout out to David Malugetta, who I am sure I am sure. David Malugetta, when this thing happened, by the way, George Pickens also said that he found out he was traded like everybody else found out he was traded. But I'm sure in the last 48 hours that David Malugetta has gotten with George Pickens and said, listen, here are the questions that are going to come your way. They're going to want to ask about the nonsense that happened in Pittsburgh. Here's how you answer it. Going to the Cowboys, it's going to be A-block information if you say something that doesn't fit the narrative of you not being crazy or a wild child or rebellious, or pick the word, noun, verb, adjective that you'd like to use to describe what happened in Pittsburgh with George Pickens. We don't know. I don't know. Would love to know. But something happened. And then something enough happened, or something happened enough times where even Mike Tomlin, who seems to be one of the most patient people that you can kind of find in the coaching realm, said, enough's enough. We need to move on. We need to cut our losses and just move on. It could possibly be one man's trash becomes another man's treasure. We hope, right? That's the hope, because we know what's on tape for George Pickens. Now, if I'm Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, if I'm Brian Schottenheimer, I take a page out of Bill Belichick's, not the UNC Bill Belichick, the New England Patriots Bill Belichick. If I am Brian Schottenheimer, my first conversation when George Pickens got to town, when he stepped foot off the PJ and he came over to the Star and he sat across my desk, that conversation for me would look a little something like this. Hey, George, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man? My name is Brian Schottenheimer. You can call me Coach. You can call me Shotty. You can call me Coach B. You can't call me Brian because we don't drink beers together. But, one of those three names should be cool. Shotty, Coach B. We should be able to make that happen. Man, George, I am so excited to have you here with the Dallas Cowboys, man. Look forward to working with you. We got a great group of guys in that locker room. You're going to love Dak Prescott, man. CeeDee Lamb is over there, bro. Man, you're going to have a great time. I look forward to working with you. Your skill set is going to be amazing, man. Get acclimated. We'll get after this thing, man. But we need you. We need you all in. We need you locked in. We need you focused. Whatever happened in Pittsburgh is in Pittsburgh. You're in Dallas now, and I want us to grow together, you and I and us, so that we can get this team out of this little drought and get back to the Super Bowl and potentially win one for the Jones family and the Cowboy Nations and for my dad. And George is sitting across from him. He's kind of getting hype. He said, but I want to be very clear with the next thing that comes out of my mouth. This is what I think Brian Schottenheimer should do. This is what Jesse Holley thinks Brian Schottenheimer should do. He said, George, I want to be very clear. This is Brian Schottenheimer speaking. Brian Schottenheimer should say, George, I want to be very clear. I want to be crystal clear. I want to be translucent, clairvoyant. I want to be as pronounced and as audibly efficient with clarity as I possibly can. We want you here in Dallas. CeeDee's the number one. CeeDee Lamb, double eights, he's him. He's Himothy. He is one of the best receivers, top 2-3 receivers in the league. He's been drafted here. He's been a perennial Pro Bowler. He's led this league in many different categories. He is him. Now, son, no, fix your face. Fix your face. We got plans for you. We're going to get you the ball. We're going to be a part of this offense. But I just want to be very, very clear. If there's a thought process in your mind that you're going to come in and take over, this is the guy that we also paid $30 million to. Now, I know you want your money, and we're going to do our very best to go out there to highlight you because you have a particular set of skills that you've honed in on and practiced and cultivated over the last couple years, over a lifetime. And they can be very valuable to us, but I don't want to leave any stone unturned. George Pickens, this is Brian Schottenheimer talking. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I want to make sure that you and I have a very, very, very clear and precise understanding of what I expect of you, from you. But I want you to know from day one, that's Batman. That's Batman. Now, Robin has a good role. There are times where Robin has to come in and save Batman because, gee Willie, he done got himself involved in some junk. Be ready, son. Be ready. You're going to get a chance. But I just want to make it very, very, very clear. He's one. Now, you can fit wherever you want to fit in that category underneath that. That's my guy. That's our guy. As he go, we go. And so I don't want to see during the season you're pouting and you're mad. We're going to get you the ball. But if CD gets the ball 7, 8, 9, 10 times, it's the reason why. There's a reason why he's a $30 million a year player. There's a reason why he's a perennial Pro Bowl. There's a reason why he is who he is. Him. Hey, man, I look forward to working with you. That's to me should be the conversation that Brian Schottenheimer has with George Pickens. Just leave no doubt, because where you get in trouble at with a guy like George Pickens is when you leave room for ambiguity, when you leave room for him to fill in the gaps, when you leave a little bit of room for a player with an immense amount of confidence. I don't think George Pickens lacks any confidence. He thinks he's always open. Give me the damn ball. Let's hoop. Let's do whatever it is. I do not think that George Pickens lacks any confidence at all. And in his mind, he feels like he can probably do any and everything that CeeDee Lamb does and probably even do it better. That's what he thinks. And I'm okay with that confidence because you need it. You got to be borderline arrogant to be in this league. You have to have a supreme belief that you are him. I get it. I don't want to take that from him, but I want Shotty to understand you can't leave any room for misunderstanding. See, if you lay the foundation down on day 1, on day 100, it's still standing firm. Because there was a clear conversation, man to man, mano a mano, let your nuts hang. This is what we are doing. Make no mistake about it. But if I let you believe and I let you continue to carry on the thoughts of you're him, then that comes with a different level of attitude and action that you'll walk with. And I just want to be very clear that when I go to, because you on the sideline bugging, I'm going to say, remember that conversation that we had? It's the first or second week of May, and we traded for you, and you came into my office. I told you that dude that wore double 8s is him. Yeah, I know he had 15 targets last game. Yeah, he caught 12 of them. $175, 2 touchdowns, and we won. Got to nip it in the bud. He is too strong of a voice not to. But Shadi, this is going to be, and what's even more important is, see, today in May, first, second week of May, everything is cool. Everybody's excited. Everybody's happy. Shadi's happy, and Dak's happy, and CD's happy, and the Joneses are happy, and George is happy. And everybody is ecstatic. There is no animosity right now. There is no conflict right now. There is no adversity that they're having to face. if you potentially lose 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row? Well, there's a potential that you can win 3 games in a row. And that brings on a different level. The more you win, the more people want a bigger piece of the pie. One of the biggest jobs of a head coach is just talent management. Yes, the X's and O's are cool, but sometimes just managing all that damn talent and attitudes and wants and needs, man, that's a juggling job within itself. You need a separate salary for that. So everyone's cool, calm, collective right now because there's no adversity that they have to face. It's going to be interesting. And for those who create content and may say, Jess, you know, why are you talking about that? Why don't you talk about it? Because it's real. It's real. The possibilities are there. We've seen it. So yes, I have to talk about it. Now, the possibilities also is there where he can go off for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. And guess what? I want to be there for that too. And I want to talk about that too, like I have. But George Pickens is no choir boy. He comes with a little baggage. But there's a trade-off. I've always told you, there's always going to be, at this level, tolerance versus talent. The more talented you are, the more crap people are going to put up with. When your talent diminishes and it's no longer greater than when your tolerance is no longer, your tolerance is greater than your talent, they get rid of you. You become a distraction. You're ornery. You're disrespectful. You're cancer. You're uncoachable. You are the bad guy. You are, pick a name. When it's the same activity or activities that you did and you were when you were in your prime. And they acquiesced to it. And they allowed it. So what makes you laugh makes you cry. And sometimes what's good for the goose ain't good for the gander. But this is going to be, this is the first, I should say second, because the draft was first. This is the second big move of the Shoddy era. We don't know what the season's going to be. It's going to be interesting. But as today, when we sit, there is a glimmer of hope. There is some hope. There is some finally, and poor Tolbert and Flournoy and Mingo and the rest of those guys. Because everybody's hooting and hollering about, we finally got a number 2. And they're looking around like, well, what the hell were we? Now, we could sit here and say you guys were chopped liver. But at some point in time, Jalen Tolbert and Mingo, they were considered as being the Cowboys' number 2. And just that fast. Take note, fellas. Take note. Because they'll defend you one day. And the next day, they'll be like, I don't give a damn if he's mad. He could go. I'm telling you, take note. This is a weird business. It's a funny business. They'll praise you today, and they'll be ready to kick you to the curb tomorrow for the right price and the right player. I think Jonathan Mingo and Tolbert and other guys are seeing that right now. Because people are like, the hell with those guys. I don't give a damn if either one of them are not here no longer. They weren't saying that about a year or so ago. They were all like, Jalen Tolbert. I was trying to push the agenda last year for Jalen Tolbert to step up and be a player. So what does this mean for your team? How does this help your football team? Well, you instantly become more explosive. Offensively, here's what you want. Offensively, you want to have the team build a huddle, right? And you want to get in this huddle, and you want the play call to come in from the sideline. Let me paint this picture for you. You get in this huddle, you call the personnel, guys are running in and out the huddle. Call comes from upstairs or the sideline, comes to the quarterback headset. Quarterback gets in the huddle. Guys get real tight to one another. You can what the oxygen that they're bringing out, you're breathing in the CO2 or whatever the hell it's called, and just that's how close you are. It's the foxhole. And you're in this place, and you hear this call, and then you go ready, break, and then you disperse. What you want to have is when you go, ready, break, and you disperse, you want that defense every time you go, ready, break, and disperse. You want that defense to have a level of fear of, where's 88? Okay, he's over on the side. Okay. Oh shoot. It's not CD in the cassettes. It's not CD in the maybes. Oh, damn, that's George Pickens. Shoot. Now they're in a bind. You want the same thing. Offensively, when you break the huddle, you're playing the Cowboys, you go, ready, break. And guys turn around. Offensive linemen looking around saying, where's number 11? Where's Micah? Let's find him. Quarterbacks are saying, 11. 11 is the mic. And we're sliding this way. We're getting protection over there. We are figuring this out wherever 11 is at. That's what you want. That's what you get with George Pickens. You get a guy when you go, ready, break, and you disperse from the huddle, people have to respect and also fear the ability of the guy who's lining up opposite of the man, CeeDee Lamb. That's what he brings to your team. Well, how does that help anybody else, Jesse? Let me tell you. When you have two dynamic playmakers, what that happens now with those safeties, got to pay a little back now. They can't be down at the line of scrimmage so that they can just read and react. They ain't just playing one side of the field and say, we'll bracket over here. And if Jalen Tolbert or Mingo or Flournoy or Cropper or whoever the hell else they got over there, Brandon Cooks, if they beat us, we tip our cap to them and we go home with an L. But we'll take our chances with them winning the game for us than 88 winning the game. We know that if he gets the ball in his hand too many times, it's trouble. We'll take our chances with those guys. That's what you want to eliminate. You want there to be a healthy level of fear that you put on the defense every time you go, ready, break. Defensive coordinators have to stay up at night figuring out a game plan to stop you. How are we going to double him? Are we going to how are we going to do this? Well, how does it help anybody? Well, now the running game gets open because the safety have to play so far back. Now I allow guys to get up on the linebackers and there's nobody to fill the hole because they're 25 yards away. So that now when they're coming downhill, I'm already at the second level because I had two dynamic receivers on the outside that lifted the coverage of this defense. If I want to get my running backs into the passing game, well, I send those guys deep. The safeties have to go deeper than the deepest man. What does that mean? We call it take the top off the defense. Make those safeties get the hell out of their back pedal, get their eyes off the quarterback, and go that way. Well, now I have running lanes. You give too many running lanes to a guy like Jaden Blue, who has that beep beep speed, things change. And oh, by the way, George Pickens, we know he'll block you into a damn Gatorade bottle, a Gatorade jug. He will block you into the hedges. He definitely will. Well, how does it help, Jesse? Well, hey, man, look, who knows? Jake Ferguson needs a bounce back year, coming off the knee injury and the concussion. And man, boy, he loves that seam route. And the throw that Dak Prescott loves the most is the seam route. He's a seam guy. Well, how do those guys help? Well, guess what? When those guys are doing things on the outside, again, the safeties have to spread out and occupy those guys. Now I got Jake Ferguson and others freely work in the middle of the field without the disturbance of safeties being near them. I got to connect on that. So just simply adding a player like that gives you a completely different dynamic on how your offense is run. Completely. Play action works better because guys are getting the hell out of that box. Because they know that George Pickens, even though you on him, is a catch waiting to happen. It changes your football team, how people play you, how they think about you, the fear that they have for you, and it gives Dak Prescott another window to throw into. The Cowboys ranked, I think, like first or second in a negative way on the least amount of separation per route, and they didn't have another dynamic playmaker that were able to make those plays in tight coverage. They got one now. So plays that were either dropped or overthrown or intercepted, I'm not saying that they won't be again. I'm not saying that George Pickens is fail-proof. But the percentage of it going to Flournoy or Tolbert or Mingo or Cropper or Holden or whoever, I like his percentage more than I like theirs. That's how it helps your football team. Helps your quarterback out because he doesn't feel like he has to force throws because he knows that we'll make a play. Coordinator can call the game differently. Everything opens up. Everything flows better when you have those dogs on the outside.